the way in which we communicate with children and teens in our children's yoga classes is absolutely essential. And it's even more so essential when we are communicating our alignment cues with children and teens. So, how we are safely getting them in and out of the poses, how we're teaching them the technique, how we're teaching them the fundamental poses. And especially it's essential when we're teaching more advanced and challenging poses. So effective alignment cues are going to be really different when you're talking to early years children versus teenagers, okay? Their brain, their language, their experience, their body, everything is very different. And so the way in which we teach or convey alignment cues to early years children versus teenagers is also completely different. And so that's what I am talking about right now. If you don't know me, I'm Laura, founder and lead teacher of Divine Light Yoga, a Yoga Alliance registered teacher training school. And I'm really very passionate about communication and safety within our children's yoga classes. And that's why I wanted to jump on today to talk about how we can effectively, creatively, and of course safely communicate alignment to children and teenagers. And if we have effective alignment, we have safe bodies, we have increased self-awareness in our children and teen yoga classes, and we're also exposing children to new postures, maybe to Sanskrit. We're enhancing their ability to connect to their own body and improving that mind-body connection. So, how do we effectively teach alignment to the younger children versus the teenagers? So, young children, their brains work very differently to older children and teenagers. You know, their brains are very much still developing. And with the younger children, they respond very well to music, to creative language, playful language, and to imagination. And so I like to use lots of metaphors when I am teaching alignment to the younger children. So rather than talking to, the 3 to 7 year old about stacking their shoulders over their hips or making sure that their knee is in line with their ankle or, pushing their knuckles and fingertips into the floor, all of that is not very age appropriate language. It's also very difficult for them to really relate to because they don't really have that self-awareness yet. It's something that they're still developing, and they don't really quite have that mind-body connection. They also have a lot less experience with vocabulary, with language. All of that are things that they are still developing. So with the younger children, I use a lot of metaphor that's going to make more sense to them. So I engage that creative, imaginary side. So it might be that we spread our fingers as wide as stars, so making our hands look like starfish. We might be reaching out our backs to make our backs look like the shape of a cat when it's stretching. We might be reaching our leg out to the back and reaching it out wide like a tiger tail. Okay, so the alignment cues are coming through this, engaging their imagination. And that is more relatable to them. Younger children tend to be more visual. And so if you engage their imagination, tell them what their body should look like with regards to maybe what an animal looks like or what something in nature or something that they are familiar with. It's going to make more sense to them and they are more likely to be able to do it. Because they're visual as well, obviously they do need that demonstration from you. So role modeling, demonstrating the poses is really essential from your side. But with regards to the alignment cues and communicating effective alignment cues, try to engage their imagination and make it relatable. Now, obviously, if you go to the older children and the teens and you start talking about making their hands look like starfish and making their bodies look like cows, it's not going to go down too well. So we need to equally make the language appropriate and relatable for the older children and teens. So at this age, they like more, they like to be, well, they are young people. So, they're like young adults. So they like to be treated in that way, and they like to be communicated in that way. But we still have to be aware that perhaps, again, their language and their vocabulary is still developing. Their experience is, again, it's probably quite limited, especially in the world of yoga. So the yoga language might be quite limited. So by all means, introduce them to Sanskrit, introduce them to language that is about engaging and about using their core and about anatomy. But you really need to make the older children and teens, you can definitely go into talking a little bit about the anatomy, the benefits, the reasons that you're asking them to do things, and that's going to make it much more effective. They're more likely to follow what you are asking them to do if you give them a reason. How is it going to benefit them? Why are you asking them to do this weird thing with their spine? Why are you asking them to, reach out their fingers as wide as they can or point their toes? What is the reason behind it? How is it going to benefit them? And make that relatable as well, because benefits such as it's going to stretch your hamstrings. Well, great, but do I even care about that? As a 14-year-old girl, do I care if my hamstrings are stretched? Do I care as a 14-year-old boy if it's going to open up my heart chakra? Probably not. So unless you're going to go into a discussion about what that means, give them some benefits and reasons that make sense to them. So it might be, this is going to help you when you are playing football, before and after, if you're working this muscle group, it's really going to help you to go a little bit faster or a little bit further when you're playing football or when you're running or when you're swimming. So whatever it is, make it relatable to that group and to those individuals. And then with the older children and the teenagers, rather than using language that is metaphorical, you are using language that is relatable, and it's a little bit more factual. So it would be a case of spread your fingers out as wide as you can and push your knuckles and your fingertips into the ground. Engage your core. What does that mean? Okay, so you're going to pull your lower belly in and up. Pull your belly button in and up. Open up the chest. Open up your chest. Feel your collarbone opening up and feel the bottom of your shoulder blades squeezing together. Okay, so using anatomical language, but making sure that they're able to follow that. So if you are talking to a 10-year-old about engagement, that's not necessarily going to make sense. So you have to be able to break that down, either using different language or break it down so that they understand it and perhaps have a bit more of a tactile experience, but making sure that they really are able to understand it. They have the self-awareness of their own body to follow it. And definitely that you are using vocabulary that makes sense to them and of course is relatable to them. So they are the two very different ways in which you can teach alignment cues to those different age groups. So for the younger children, engaging their imagination and maybe using more metaphorical language, which is very kind of playful, creative, and helping them to see it in their mind so that they know what their body should really look like. And then with the older children, the teens, when you're working with young people, you are explaining the benefits, you're using anatomical language, you're teaching them the techniques, and you're helping them to really expand their vocabulary around kind of yoga language. So what is their body doing? How is it moving? What's the benefits? Maybe even introducing some Sanskrit to keep them engaged. So if this is something that you are interested in, keeping children and teens safe in your yoga classes, so we do that through safe adjustments, through key alignment cues, through keeping them mentally safe and feeling safe, through our language, our communication, how we set up the space, how we actually guide the classes. How we teach them challenging poses and what poses are actually age appropriate, which ones we should avoid for certain ages, and perhaps which ones we should avoid altogether. If this is something you're interested in, then you can join my half-day workshop, which is this Saturday, the 23rd of July, and you'll get access to the live session, which is 4 hours with me and a very small group. It will be interactive, it will be playful, definitely lots of practical exercises. We'll be doing some partner work, some group discussions, some Q&A time, and you'll also get access to the recording. But I would really love to have you there live. It's going to be a lot of fun and it's definitely going to be valuable. For those of you that are teaching teenagers or thinking about teaching teenagers, this is going to be absolutely fundamental. You will walk away with so much more confidence, practical skills, motivation, and ideas on how you can effectively teach challenging poses to teenagers so that you can start sharing yoga with that older age group. So whether you're a parent or a carer, you can do that at home, or you can start teaching workshops for teenagers, which is something that I'll also discuss a little bit more of on the half-day training this Saturday. So if you're interested, you can check out the link or send me a DM or an email to get more information and let's have a little chat about it. There's also a 50% discount, so you can get that before Saturday. So if you're thinking about it, now's the best time to join up because you can get that 50% discount. And if you're not yet a children's yoga teacher and you want to be, I also have my online Yoga Alliance 95-hour teacher training. You can also DM me about that and we can have a discussion about it. But I hope to see you there live on Saturday. Comment below and let me know what's your favourite alignment technique or alignment cues when you are working with children and teenagers. All right, hope to see you Saturday.